Welcome, everybody, to the Lace Up Podcast, our first episode. We're looking to do big things in 2025. We got a special guest with us tonight. He is a social media superstar. I'll let him introduce himself.
Yo, what's up? My name's Jake Scalli, Instagram and TikTok. I make Boston-related content. You're watching the Lace Up Podcast. Let's fucking go. Thank you for having me, guys.
No doubt. I got my co-host here.
Yeah, my name's Devin, Donovan. I'm the co-host, Lace Up Podcast. Thanks for coming, Jake. Glad to have you, bro. And get it rocking.
Yeah, so we're looking to put something out there that I think we all need as human beings. Like a recovery podcast, and that don't go for anything in particular, just adversity in general. We all face it, we all go through it, but how we bounce back, and we lace up or lay down. So with that, we're gonna Devin's gonna hit Jake with some questions. We're gonna bounce off, keep it organic, keep it real, keep it raw, and hopefully you guys like it. Hopefully people someone it can resonate with some people, and we can help some people there. We all need each other. So with that, Dev, you want to take over?
Yeah, absolutely. Take over. All right, yeah. So we'll just jump into whatever. But I mean, I don't know, Jake, if you want to get into like where you're from, what life was like growing up.
No, I got you. I'm 29. I grew up in Charlestown and Winthrop. My parents got divorced, so I got to live in the suburbs too, which was pretty cool. Like a little best of both worlds situation. I'm a recovering addict. I have 7 years as of December 21st. Heroin, fentanyl, and all that stuff. No more. So I make content like comedy. Everybody knows my Danny skits. I do the not out videos. That's kind of where I've been at with it. But yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. It's awesome. It's funny because I met you through Joe, but obviously seeing the Danny videos and I just assumed that you were a recovering addict, but when we first met, hearing your story, it's awesome. You know what I mean? Me and Joe are also in recovery, and yeah, man. So I don't know. I guess what was a turning point for you, when you decided to get clean? When did the pain become great enough?
I feel like it was with heroin and fentanyl and all that shit. It was my dad walking in on me getting fucked up, and he flipped out, and we got in a big argument. My family got involved. They wanted to send me to fucking detox and shit, and they were like, you're either going to you're going to go to detox and get clean, or you're out of the fucking house and you're going to be homeless. So I didn't end up going to detox. I fucking cried and pleaded with my parents. I was like, I'll go to the clinic. I'll stop. I'll get clean. So my grandfather took me the next day to the Suboxone clinic, and that was... for the dope, that was it. But I had a more problem with fucking Klonopins and beans and all that stuff down the road. That was a different battle,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And that's something that they talk about in recovery, where they talk about the for an alcoholic or an addict or anyone, there's a million addictions out there, but it's the thinking disease, right? What they talk about.
I got 3 years clean from the beans and from subs, which is pretty cool. So no Klonopins, no Suboxone for 3 years.
Bro.
That's whatever it takes, absolutely.
Yeah, I've always learned, thought, like Joe said, substituting, right? Because I say all the time, I can totally fucking destroy my life without drugs and alcohol. You know what I mean? Obviously, Klonopins, fentanyl, fucking cocaine, all that, but for me, gambling, fucking shopping, fucking chasing money, all that shit, it can just, anything exterior that makes you feel good. You know what I mean?
I feel like drugs is just that extra force that, if you're already a fucking wrecking ball, it's just gonna make you 100 times worse.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that too. Growing up in the city and stuff like that. You said your family. You're from Charleston. You're my homeboy, and in big family in Charlestown. Big Bob, your dad, right? Well, we'll get into him a little later, and but I think that it says something about growing up in just having that being subjected to that being thrown in the fire, so to speak, and
it was normal. I feel like it was all really normal to us, people fucking doing dope and fucking smoking crack.
And especially your age, the generations and stuff. It's only gotten. I mean, there was a reason why, even the mafia guys, that's all over and done with. But for what it's worth, that they didn't want drugs around, right? Drugs ruins everything. It really does. There was a reason for that. There was a reason guys would get clipped for dealing with drugs and stuff.
Real gangsters.
And then John Gotti came along, right? But you saw how that all turned out, right? And another thing too, I think that with the podcast, I think that it's people need to. It's nice to be able to sit here and speak about something you believe in, speak about the truth. But I know for myself, for 40 years, I didn't even know I was living a lie, nor did I know I was playing a character that you created for me. That based on fear and stuff like that. So, growing up in that neighborhood, like I always say, it was in that movie, The Town, where they talk about, it literally ruined my life, so to speak, but I wouldn't change it for the world, And,
Yeah. 100%.
How do you feel about that?
That's true. What doesn't fucking break you makes you, dude. It's fucking, that's the truth. I feel like, too, with Charlestown, it's like some of the best people in the world. There's also a good amount of fucking shitbags like anywhere else, but like
Absolutely.
there's also like a good amount of like really fucking the best, most solid people that like still to this day, like in my life, like my closest people are all from Charlestown.
It's funny you say that. Me and Devin have in-depth conversations about this, but and it's nice to be able to be like genuinely proud, right? Because they talk about ego and then like pride and like, that was tough to, especially when you're trying to change something that needs to be changed in life, and and they're throwing all these things at you, you got to change everything, and like, one day at a time, don't change, just keep it simple. It's like it really confuses you, but they talk about the ego, they talk about the pride, and one thing that I always try to separate was that I didn't know that there was a difference, but with the pride and stuff, I think that growing up in that neighborhood, I don't think you can be proud until you're proud of what you're doing and stuff like that. And like you said, I think that the good people where we're from, and myself included, we can go both ways. None of us are immune to it, but I think that we're the salt of the earth. I think that goes for Boston in general. It's funny that we took that, even to discuss this, but at the same time, we can be monsters, we can be animals, right, Dev?
Yeah, absolutely. We fucking burn shit into the ground, and fucking keep riding it till the wheels fall off, fucking, But it's funny how you said that too, Jake. Like, growing up, it was just like normal, and that's what I love too. Is like, we're similar in age. Joey's like a little older, but like, dude, like, I don't know, like,
physically older, but not emotionally.
You guys are fucking sick shape. You gotta give me some fucking fitness tips, Joey.
Billy Madison, dude.
No, listen,
Joe, like fucking lights people up at dodgeball.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah,
but no, like, we can all. What I was getting at, like, we can all relate to each other, dude, and like, pain is pain.
Pain is pain.
Pain
Absolutely.
is pain, and like, it was normal growing up, dude. Like, I hate using like the term product of environment, but like it's true, you know what I mean? Like the kids you hang out on the corner with, like, like the people you learn from in your household, like that's.
But for me, like I'd always like we'd be like fucking like selling weed and stuff, like hanging out in the projects. Like people would let us use their house and shit to like trap out of there, and people would be coming in and like doing dope. When we were kids, like it's fucking gross, like these fucking fiends and shit. But you never know that like one day, like shit just happens, bro, and you kind of like fall into that fucking crevice without even knowing it, bro. It's weird.
Dude, I would same thing. Like I was like the biggest pothead and like fucking psychedelics and all that shit until like I wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was fucking eating perks like they were fucking.
There's an argument if like weed's like a gateway drug. I feel like it is because it just gets you into that. Like you put your feet like into that world. Like when you start, it's I don't know. For me, when I was a kid, I started smoking weed, so I started just getting into shit. Started smoking dust and coke. Like just
you guys.
Well, I think that has to do with it. Yeah, Charlestown, right on.
Yeah,
I feel like we like that.
Yeah, if you're from Charlestown, you like.
No, I tell people, it's hard to, hard to explain, but it was so normal growing up where like, marijuana, like angel dust, PCP, which is hardcore, it's a hallucinogenic,
Makes you feel
you
like
want to talk,
head.
about a third eye or just getting outside of yourself, being numbing yourself, you will not feel anything, but at the same time,
feels like you put your brain in a microwave and then fucking put it back in your head. Like I don't even. Yeah, I feel like I'm standing on my head.
And it's I guess as a kid when when it was the consequences, you really didn't have any responsibilities, the priorities weren't there, so you kind of get away with acting up a little bit But at the same time, I mean, we see guys that are still there, that it's like, dude, I don't know how they function. I don't know how they wake up in the morning and
go to fucking work. And I know dudes that go to work every day and live like normal lives and smoke dust like fucking, I don't understand how they do it.
But, like Devin said about the product of environment where like that in Charlestown, when, when I was growing up, like, in the 90s, it was, and it sounds so silly, but it is what it is, where like angel dust and like bank robbery, like if you smoke dust and rob banks, like you were the man, right? And how insane is that, right? And at the end of the day, it's like misinformed by the misinformed, but at the same, I remember I was away and there was a guy, Johnny Knegle, he was one of John Gotti's guys, and I think he was one of the guys that did the hit on Castellano and outside the steakhouse. And I remember I was talking to him and I was getting animated. I didn't even know. I look back in hindsight, and I was getting like animated. I was getting like amped up, like talking about the dust and
Getting passionate
and I remember
about
this
it.
guy looked at me, right? This old wise guy from New York, right? Like the real deal. And you know, I always say for every one real one, there's 99 leg hangers, you know. But this guy was the real deal, you know. But you know, nice guy, and he looked at me, and the way he looked at me, like his face said it all. It was more or less like what are you fucking talking about, kid? and that was the first time in my life I was ever like, wow, maybe I shouldn't tell this story, or maybe, you know. And I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, that's shit's not fucking, you know. Meanwhile, like I would, you know, heroin or crack, like it's like who fucking does that, you know? But at the same time, like you were talking about,
I do it sometimes. Like I'll just bring it up in conversation, like even not knowing a like setting, and people are looking at me like, the fuck you talking about? I don't even realize I'm doing it sometimes.
yeah, right.
It's just so it's like a part of our lives, dude. We don't really realize it's when we're talking about
dude,
it.
it happened at the coffee shop the other day, dude. I'm like on the phone with my boy. I'm like, yeah, we did a fucking video with fucking Jake Scalli. I'm like, fucking, my boy tased him. I pull out a gun. We're like at Mary Lou's, dude. I'm just like, fucking, whatever, bro. Like, I don't give a fuck what people think. You know what I mean? Because like for so long, I did give a fuck what people thought. You know what I mean?
Well, I think, and that's something that's like I want to, something that, you know, I'm passionate about, and I think that you guys as well, where it's you know, you talked about the creativity, you know, even coming on the show and stuff like that, and supporting that, where like that's not how we walk, talk, act. Like that's not how we grew up, right? Like to us, like not only is it foreign, it's like whack. It's like that's silly. But it's not. Like what we thought was fucking was silly, and what we thought was foolish and stuff like that. You know, so just to be able to like put it out there, it's like, you know, it's, you know, get vulnerable or just like speak the truth, right? There's something to be said about the truth, you know. And the one thing you talked about that I want to make sure that, you know, I point this out is you know, for anyone that is not familiar with Danny, Jake's character, you know, is the one thing I attracted to was, you know, when I watched it, my first thought as like, you know, just human nature, I was probably like, I didn't know to be, you know, whether to be offended. I didn't know how to feel, right?
Who the fuck's this asshole
and
making fun of fucking drug addicts?
You know? And that was my first thought, but that's my old thinking. And, you know, where I was ready to like, you know, I was ready to get on the defensive and like, and just assume. And I watched some videos and I was like, not only is it spot on, I thought to myself, like, and I said to Devin, I'm like, this is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is taking the power away from the disease, right? It's like, it's here, it's not going anywhere. And like it's in, you know, just, you know, go down Mass Ave, go to Mass and Cass or whatever, you know.
It shines a light, bro. A lot of these like politicians and shit, and they said they don't like Mayor Wu. They don't want to like, they don't want to talk about what's going on, bro, because they don't put a lot of money into like mental health programs and like all this stuff. So people just go out on the street and they're fucking committing crime and getting fucked up, and it's just that rut that people get stuck in, and people are just dying, and there's new people that come in. But I like to actually shine a light on what's going on, even if it's through comedy. Like,
absolutely,
it's putting it in these people's faces, like their kids are watching it, you know what I'm saying? So they're seeing it, and now they know like this is an actual fucking problem.
And the influence on that is huge, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, to think like in this day and age, like I think about, you know, kids, forget about, you know, some of this filthy shit that comes up, like you never, it's just there, right? It's like, it's almost like, all right, well, what are you going to do? But at the same time, like kids are influenced, you know, whether it's music, whatever the case may be. And now to see that, you know, even the kid that's, even someone out there that's active, right? And they see that and they have that little shred of dignity left, right? That little shred of pride that, you know, of, you know, the morals, values, and principles that their family instilled in them before they went out, you know, and the disease took over. And they say, fuck this, like, you know, and they see, like, I don't want to look like this.
Yeah, you get to see yourself in a different light. For kids, it'll be like, that's not cool. Like, I don't want to be like that.
You know?
So every single time, like, I'm like trying to think, like, if someone's fucking friend, some kid's friend offers them a perk or something, they might think of Danny and be like, oh, fuck that, you know? Maybe, hopefully, that's the goal, you know?
Yeah, right.
So actually, that was going to be one of my questions is like, you know, obviously, like, city kids, like, you know, you're on the red line, dude, you see dude fucking jammed in the corner sucking his dick, but like, I fucking, a lot of people don't know, dude. Like I said to you though, it's like, you know, it's like always been like that stigma, like that elephant in the room, like, what is that? It's like, no, dude, like that's like a fucking, that could be a doctor, that could be a fucking lawyer, that could be
anybody.
Well,
dude, a lot of people too, when I'm doing Danny, like I'll hear people be like, what's wrong with that guy? Like, what's wrong? Like, and a lot of people, like some people will be like, oh, he's on dope, like he's fucking overdosed. So there's some people that know, and then there's a lot of people that don't, which is crazy. So it's like you said, it's like that elephant in the room that some people aren't aware of, you know?
So how did like what made you say fuck it, dude? I'm gonna start doing these videos. Like,
So I actually, the first one I did was the one where I was like, "What the fuck, Danny? You piece of shit! You spent all the fucking Christmas money on." It's like, no, I was in the blanket. That was the first one I did.
And that's a universal response.
Yeah, dude, that went fucking. That was it. So after the response I got from that, I'm like, oh, people want to see this side of me now. So like, all right, like I'm fucking talk about the content. Let's talk about dope. So I made the second video. I was doing the Full House thing. I was nodding out in the fridge.
Yeah.
And then that one went crazy. And then like 2 weeks later, I had a vacation planned to Hawaii. So I went to Hawaii. I was bored as shit. And I'm like, yo, I'm going to fucking make some of these videos here. Like this dude went on vacation. He's like, because out there, that's not normal, dude. So it's like people are seeing me do it. They're like, what the fuck? But then I started doing one on the airplane. So the first vlog one that I did was me on the way back from Hawaii. And I was on the airplane and stuff. I was hitting the knot on the plane. But that one went crazy. So I was like, all right, now I could do the skits. And then people like the vlog. So those are kind of the two like formats that I stuck with Danny.
I love the one when he's playing the Bikini Bottom music at the aquarium.
Looking at the fucking aquarium.
The aquarium was in Maui, right?
Yeah, it was right in Maui.
The fucking Mass Ave Macarena.
Everybody in there was, dude, I'm telling, because people out there aren't used to that shit. Like, they have a lot of meth heads. So it's California, like, the big drug is meth. But, like, there are, like, some dope heads out there. But it's not, like, a big, like, culture out there. It's more meth.
Well, and I think that it says, to me, it says something. I mean, we use just, maybe it's an Irish thing or whatever, but, like, humor is like a defense mechanism,
Yeah, it makes us feel better.
and like, but that's something to be said about, like, character, like people that can, that's like that can use that, right? We can laugh in the face of in the face of the pain or whatever, and I think it brings, it says something about to be able to just say, like, show it for what it's worth, show exactly what it is, like, this is what it is, and it's here, and it's a problem, right? We all know that, but like, there's no, what do they say? There's no, there's many different ways to skin a cat, so it's like, and I think what you're doing is amazing, and that's why, and I'm glad that we linked up or whatever, and it's nice that, even to see, a kid from Charlestown, and Devin, like Lowell and stuff like that, where it's, we were kind of programmed to think like we're supposed to like stay stuck, right? And like for how proud and like how like boisterous, like I love Charlestown, right? Don't get me wrong, but like at the same, and I've earned the right to fucking say this, where it's like there's like that shit there, like the pride and stuff like that. Like I know what that is today. Like I know a lot of it's fear. Like a lot of people don't leave like a neighborhood like that. It's easy, like, and we can all get stuck like that, But just to know, like, we talked about this, and one of the things I want to convey with the podcast is like that everyone has a voice, everyone has a story, and it really is, and like, whether you think your story is important or not, that's not really for you to say. I think that, like, open your mouth, like, let people know where you're at, and not only will it like help you, by default, but like you'll help another person. And that's even better,
100%, bro.
Yeah.
So listen, let's get into tell me about, we were talking about your dad earlier, Big Bob, whatever, and I was telling Devin about, your family. It's like, the typical Charlestown family, like good people, right? I come from, we come from good stock, right?
Yeah.
We weren't raised to do, to get involved in the shit we got involved in, right? But like we followed suit. I say, like, once I went down the corner, my mother could have been Mother Teresa, my father could have been the Pope, and I was going to be whatever I thought you'd accept me as. And I that to me is like, it humbles me, and I need to be humble, because when I run on fear or run on like stress and all that, then like the ego is going to come out, and that's no good for no one, right? But I know that like that's. And we talked. I was saying how your family is very creative. They all, your Uncle Dave and stuff like that. And talk a little bit about your dad. And growing up and stuff like that. My
dad used to make like film and stuff. So like when he got divorced from my mom, we actually ended up moving to Florida together. And he used to like he bought like this big camera and shit, and he was doing like this TV show. It was crazy. He had like people like living at the house. It was on My TV 8 or some shit in Naples. It was like public access, dude. But he was like dumping money into it. He was like having like business. So he was like, I feel like doing what I'm doing now, but he was just kind of like way ahead of his time, and he wasn't ready for it. He was like,
there's something to be, I mean, he set the tone,
That's what it is. It was like people like him, if he would have got into doing what he's doing now, like he would have been way more successful. It was just at the time he was doing it, like he was just trying to like throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. But
it's funny. I think of your dad, and I'm like, it's like, all right, like growing up in a neighborhood like Charlestown, it's like, the options you would taught to think that the options were limited, right? So you're either a firefighter, a police officer, a bank robber, a drug dealer, what, right? But it was very limited. And then now you get your dad,
Union,
like
you go
who's
in
like
the
doing,
union.
who's
That's
doing
everyone
film,
thinks
right?
the
Who's
union
doing
down
like
your throat.
who's doing artistic stuff, right? And the thing is, like, I feel like whatever you put your mind to, whatever, it's like, yeah, listen, you can be a great, even to strive for that, to be like, and think outside the box and like to show like the set of balls he had on him to like to go out there and at one point he was a Chippendale dancer.
Yeah,
We're gonna
he was
talk
doing
about that.
Chippendale.
He'll probably kill me for saying
No,
that.
that's all right. But I definitely get like the whole creative side of it. Because my grandmother, she used to work in the theater and stuff. She did this thing called G-Bach. It was for people who were like mentally handicapped. So she would do like, she would organize plays and stuff. And then in Old Orchard Beach, she would do it in the in Pinehurst Park, like across the thing. She would like coordinate all the plays and stuff. Right. My dad and all my uncles and stuff, they used to all be in the plays. My dad doing the videos and shit. I feel like I was just always listening to him being like, oh, wouldn't this be an awesome idea for a movie? And then my brain would start jumping, and that's definitely where I got it from, like the
that's
shit,
It's awesome,
shit,
dude. I love the creativity. I love it. You know what I wanted to go back to was you're talking. I don't care, dude. I'll get political on here. We'll get controversial. We don't give a fuck.
Yeah, keep it real.
I fucking
raw leg steak. Let's do it.
I hate Mayor Wu, dude. Honestly, like you talked about, like Mass and Cass, and like not to get too deep into it, but like I've ran down there on Mass Ave, and like the only time they clear shit up down there, dude, is when there's political shit going on and fucking exactly.
I'm like, how the fuck do they do that? Like, what do they just put more cops out there? They put up all the fences. Like, where do all those people go, bro? It's like there's fucking, they just scatter out throughout the city. Like, it's nuts.
It's nuts, and like in the fucking Wire, dude. Like they have everyone get high in one area. Like that's the way they look at it. It's like they don't want. They don't want this fucking junkie on the, in front of the brownstone where the fucking, person that.
Crazy, because I feel like Mass Ave is like such a big cut through with Cambridge and shit that it's like these fucking rich people and like these politicians, they're driving by it all the time. Like they're seeing it and then just don't want to do shit about it. It doesn't.
In my opinion, I feel like, I wouldn't, we talk about like the pain, and everyone's subject to it, right? And you almost to be like, without it, right? What'd you say the other day that I was somewhere doing I was talking at a meeting or something and what I quoted 50 Cent
we're doing we're doing a fucking commitment in Southie, bro. He gets up to it. Joe spits fire, dude. He like blacks out and says fire shit. And,
he is poetry, dude.
Yeah,
he fucking
dude,
rips, dude. He goes off.
It's from the heart, bro.
It's unbelievable.
That's where the best shit comes from.
Hey, even sometimes when he sends me a text message, holy fuck.
Yeah, I can wipe it on.
Like it was powerful, But no, he gets up at the podium and he's like, he had a little twist to it, but he's like, Joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain. And everyone's just like, everyone's just like, yeah. I'm like, that was 50 Cent, bro. I can quote 50 Cent.
Right? I'm getting hit with the copyright.
No, he's the best, dude. He's the best.
That's a fucking true statement. They say that in the Bible too. That people you can't feel peace and joy until you felt fucking misery.
And that's what you would, about the, rich or like, hey, none of us can control how we're brought into this world, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I wouldn't change it for nothing. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't, if I had to. That's the best part about like, I feel like Boston or just people adversity, right? Like, because we're not gonna. It's not just Boston. It's everywhere. There's good. There's bad. There's strong. There's weak. But just being able to form an identity or whatnot. And I think that's what was stripped of us. And not by anyone's fault, just because that's just generation after generation.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like
we come from good families. So.
I feel like we're all kind of on the same page too, because it's like you may think that like you have money, but then there's someone that has more money. You think you're poor, but then there's someone who's more poor. Yeah. So it's like we're all kind of in like the same boat,
Absolutely, and that's like the beautiful thing about like addiction too. Like they say, there's no, it doesn't discriminate, dude. Like whether you're a fucking lawyer, or a doctor, or whether you grew up in the projects, dude. Like you know what I mean? It doesn't matter.
They say like the biggest like places it hits is like the suburbs, like Cape. Absolutely. Like I saw that fucking documentary like a few years before I even was doing it. They had a big documentary on like Cape Cod that like just fucking so those random little suburbs and shit like get hit fucking hard.
Absolutely,
dude. Yeah. I think of. God bless the suburban kids, right? I mean, hey, you know
got all the money to buy this shit, though.
It's almost like,
they do.
And that's why,
fucking
that's
easy.
another thing. Like, as I look you in the camera and tell you, like, it's like, it's like, just be you. Like, be yourself. It's like, like, represent where you're from. Like, be proud of where you're from. Be proud of who you are. Like, and it's like everyone's dying to be like city. Like, it's like, or even like they say, like, Mass and Cass, right? I don't know myself personally, but like, from everything I've heard, it's like, there's not Boston people down there, unless, you know what I mean? There may
All
be like
different
a
walks of
handful,
life,
but like it's like people can't wait to get there, and like the people that can't wait to get there aren't even from Boston. You know what I mean?
It's fucking crazy.
It's like, when did that become a fucking flex, bro?
No, it's crazy. You got dudes from Falmouth that are on fucking Mass Ave, and then they're telling people they grew up in Southie.
Yeah.
It's just, you know how it is, dude. It's fucking every pro. You know, I started going to detoxes when I was like 18 years old. It's the best. It'd be like, you know, fucking OG black dude or like whoever in the room, right? And then dude would be like, fuck yeah, I fucking, you know, I did 20 years. I
Such
sold
a weird
this,
thing
I
to
sold
wanna,
that.
like-
I got a Beamer at my crib. Yo, can I get a Newport? It's just like, come on, bro.
Such a weird thing to want to be a part of it, because I feel like some people like want to be able, when you just like pushed into it, it's like fuck this, like I don't want anything to do with this shit.
Absolutely.
And I
dude.
think that it's like huge to be like, you know, shout out to like B. Luke, you know, Bobby Lucas, you know, with the Bounce Back podcast. You know, these guys, like, I feel like, you know, they inspire, you know, Maddie Tottenham, W Number, you know, Mathematics, like these guys that have been through the trenches and like in their and they're out there speaking, like, if anyone's going to change it, like, you know, what do they say? Nothing changes if nothing changes, right? So like the ball's in our court now, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Like it's a beautiful thing that like people like us can have a voice, and like whoever you are, like you have a voice, your voice matters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing about the internet, dude. Like fucking anything you want to put out there, if you try hard enough, like you can get people to see it. You know,
I do love the fact, you know, and you'll have to, we'll get him on as a guest, you know, in one of these next episodes coming up, but King Ace, you know, like I think about how it brings cultures together, right? You know, pain. That's pain, right? You know,
he's been through a lot, bro. He's
you
one
can
of the
hear it in his music. You know what I mean?
No,
He speaks from the
and
heart.
like to see someone, you know, for you know, it goes back to, I think that like you know, there's no coincidences, and like, you know, how even we've crossed paths and whatnot, and like, you know, you get in where you fit in, right? And like if you're playing a role, playing a character, you're gonna be with other, you know, characters, right? And if you're being yourself, like you're gonna find out like who's who, what's what, and like and the best part about it, you won't have to look over your shoulder or like question anything, and you know, just to know, like, to see, like, you know, the one when you did the video in Dorchester or at the Burger King and whatnot.
That was the first night I ever met him.
No shit.
That was the first. We were shooting a video.
And for him to be so like to love, you know, to enjoy it, to appreciate it, to acknowledge it, and to embrace you, right? Because like and I don't know him from a hole in the wall, but that's one thing that we learned growing up is like judge a character. You know, we can always, you know, we're not perfect with it, but like for the most part, you know, when you
recognize real.
Yes, absolutely. So tell us about how you met him,
dude. The first night I met King Ace. You guys ever see that Tommy G dude? He was shooting the most.
Tommy McGee, right?
Tommy G McGee. We were shooting a video in Dorchester. They were doing like the hottest hoods in America. Ace is a Latin king, so like that whole area, like Burger King, D Block, that's like Ace's like hood over there.
Road, right?
Yeah, so he was filming out there, and I was meeting them. I was just chopping it up with Ace, and then I was like, yo, I might as well just fucking like shoot a vlog, dude. And he's like, yo, just stop filming. Like my manager's always on me. She's like, bro, film it right now.
Yeah,
sometimes
shout out to your manager.
Yeah, dude, he's always getting me. Like I'll be lazy sometimes, or I just won't be thinking about it. He's like, bro, we're here. Like this is just fucking do it, you know, and I'll send it. But that's how we did it that night, dude. And he fucking loved it, bro. He was spitting the cipher, and we just became friends ever since. We did a couple other videos, but I hang out with him like on like we bring our kids out places and just like trampoline
That's
parks,
amazing,
like
bro.
outside of content, like we really are like boys. He's a wicked good fucking dude, bro.
Yeah,
for real.
no, that's great. That's awesome to hear too. You know, and even just to confirm, like how you feel when you see something, it's like, you know, because a lot of the time, like there's a lot of bullshit out there, a lot of fake stuff, a lot of stuff that, you know, you kind of, and just to feel it, like, and be like, and confirm it, like, you know, just what you're saying, you know, that he's, you know, the kid has been through shit, and he's and look what he's doing, right?
Yeah, we come from two different worlds, but it's great because me and him will be talking about like fucking Sega or like Xbox shit or rap, like just we're not even talking about like, you know, he comes from like a gang culture and all that shit. Yeah. I don't, but like he doesn't. We don't really talk about that shit. That's not what our friendship is based off of. So
right,
it's cool, you know.
And there was someone in the homestead at some point that like taught him, whether it be like a mother, father, aunt, uncle, grandmother, you know. Someone taught him, you know, he has something in him, you know, like he knows.
No, he's a man.
He knows what time it is,
you
know.
No, absolutely. And that's I think really like the point we want to get across too, right? Is like whatever demographic you're from, wherever you come from, like whatever it is, right? Like you can put, you know, your differences to the side and like be your authentic self and like love yourself. Like it's actually like cool to be like a real man and like not in the street, like, you know what I mean? Like for such a long time, dude, like I played the victim because like my mother and father were addicts, you know what I mean? So like talk about like that being normal and like seeing fucked up shit.
Yeah.
But it's like a real man. I say it to Joe all the time. Like a real man's like you know, showing up for your children, fucking showing up for the people you love. you know, the people that have always shown up for us. And you know, I know you're a dad, and that's a big part of your life.
I think that changed everything for me too, because having kids, like after my first son was born, that's when my doctor prescribed me Klonopins. I was having like panic attacks and shit because I had so much stress. But, like,
hey, kids will do that.
Yeah, they will. But dude, you guys
they
know how it is. Like when you're trying to get clean, bro, and you can't, like, dude, dope numbs everything, bro. So when you're trying to deal with like
It's like
every
you're so
day,
needy.
yeah, dude, when you're trying to deal with like everyday problems, especially kids, it's like amplified. So like I was just getting panic attacks. I didn't know what the fuck to do with myself. I didn't want to leave the house because I was scared. Like I didn't want to go get high and shit. So I was sitting in, and then I started I went to the doctors. It was a psychologist and a psychiatrist, my bad, and he fucking gave me a prescription for 90 Klonopins a month, dude.
Yeah.
It was fucking awful. I'm like, before I started eating them, so I'm like, I don't want to have these panic attacks. Fucking 3 a day fucking turns into 20 a night, and then I eat the whole script in 2 days.
And you weren't even shopping. You were going in there like he was legit going in there.
Yeah,
right?
No, seriously, dude. Like I was fucking taking them all, and like the withdrawals you get from Klonopins are so bad. Like they can kill you, bro.
Benzo withdrawals are the worst.
Bro, they're awful. But I would do it to myself on purpose. So like I would eat the whole script in like fucking a day or two, and then I'd have none of them, bro. And then I'd fucking have to get sick, and then wait till I got more. I try to buy like fake Xanax or something. All the fucking Xanax out there are fake.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing too. You know, like I know like the generation we grew up in, like obviously like it. No, I think you told me it started with pills, right?
Yeah,
you know,
it
like
was
perks and fucking
pills and all
but
that
then
shit.
like eventually, like you know, I mean, at least from my experience, like started with the perk 30s. They were real, like you know, buying them off the street, and then like obviously that became too expensive. Then went to the dope, and then dope became fentanyl, and it's like now everything's fentanyl. Not even the perks, the benzo, the Xanax, like it's all pressed.
It's terrorist. It's straight terrorist shit.
Yeah, it's chemical warfare, dude.
Straight
Fucking
terrorist shit.
imposed
They
by
said,
China.
you know, I'm not, you know, someone said that about that the U.S. did that with like opium in Korea or wherever, some Asian spot. I don't know. They're all the same to me,
well,
but
you know, there's a lot of that's a fucking
The Asians
serious
have all the
conspiracy.
synthetic, like they have all the synthetic shit.
All the
like
fetty's
fentanyl.
coming from China.
Yeah, they have factories over there. I don't know if you guys seen on YouTube. They have legit factories where they just
they're
produce
making it
fentanyl,
in a
dude.
lab,
It's
well, yeah, I mean, I guess it's like
fucking insane.
genius if you're fucking like a Hitler or something, you know. Like talk about taking down the masses.
No, it's
you
nuts.
know,
It's nuts.
and like
chemical warfare. It's a way for them to attack us. We owe them so much money and shit, and I feel like we're on the brink
They're
of World War
collecting.
III. Yeah, they're collecting. They're making money off of it, and they're killing us at the same time by
100%.
fucking numbers, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
no, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, and I think that this is, you know, in whatever scale you want to call it. I mean, and that's what I mean. Everyone has a voice. Everyone, you know, and your story does matter because this is the way we fight back, right? It's like, you know, I mean, we have to do it on an individual basis every day. You know, show up for life, like you talked about. You know, that's what
you can't save everybody. You can save one person out of 10, dude. Like that's a score, bro. You know.
Yeah, well, it's like I really, truly, genuinely believe like that when we're like sober, dude, and like you know, like we're some of the best people because like we really have been through the depth of hell.
Makes
know
you
what I mean?
appreciate life more, bro.
I had so many people, dude, like in my life, you know, like you know, not by choice, but like you know, people in my life that are just so ungrateful for the little things, man. It's like we know what it's like to like not have food or fucking sleep in a hallway or an alleyway and fucking
Just
be fucking locked up and fucking no one's answering the other fucking side of the phone, you know.
And that's what's the wild thing is about addiction is that people, I mean, ultimately sign up for it, right? Like, you know, within reason, but they sign up. It's like we pay for pain, right? Like it's like, where do I sign? You know,
that's what it is. Like you know exactly what you're doing the first time you do it, but you're like, oh, I've already done this, and this. What the fuck is this? You know, I'm like miserable as fuck. Like, add it to the list of, I'm a piece of shit. Like add it to the fucking list. Like I really don't care. You know,
that's the thing too, right? Is like
get the fuckets.
I shared your fucking thing one time. This is before we met and shit, but I shared one of your things on my story and you know, like my nan and my aunt, they're like, it looks like he's overdosing. Take that off your fucking thing. It's like, dude, because, you know, like my father died of an overdose or whatever. But I'm like, but dude, like, that's the thing. Like Joe said, it's like, it doesn't matter how the fuck you're getting the message across. You're getting
it out.
And that's an old school response from the old school.
Yeah, of course.
How about, well, it goes back to, and we've all heard this, what goes on in this house stays in this house.
Of course.
Right?
Don't talk about it.
So that's a great fucking saying, right? But it was never elaborated on. So it's like now you're leaving a fucking kid, right? Right?
You just knew, like, when we were kids, like, don't talk about the shit.
But really, you were just,
house.
so it's like, wait, hold on. Like, where's the, like, you know, oh, the people, like, the windows are open or something, right? It's like, well, don't be fucking crazy. Stop being fucking nuts and screaming, right?
Yeah.
But then at the same time, like, you know, I always say, like, you know, about, like, no one's that important, right? Like, everyone's a, you know, everyone has a story, everyone's voice matters, and like, you know, but it's about being like, no one's
like,
thinking
shut the
about
fuck up.
anything. Shut the fuck up. Come on, let's get with it, and like I don't know. I talk to myself like that all the time. It's like I have to remind myself, like Joe, like it's not, you know what I mean? It's not all about you, and like, and hey, at least I got the got the memo finally, But yeah, what else we got there?
Yeah, no, what I was getting, like, I was gonna say, like, with the posting the video, it's like, dude, like, they say it's like a fucking saying. It's like they call it Rule 62, and it's like, don't take yourself too seriously. It's like, dude, you gotta fucking laugh about.
If you can't laugh at yourself, bro, then it's just don't do comedy. Like if you can't make fun of yourself and you can't like really laugh, you're like, bro, I'll look in the mirror and just roast myself. Like that's just you have to. I feel like you got to be real with yourself about who you are, and like like you just have to be able to fucking shit on yourself. That's the key, because that's what other people are gonna laugh at and make them relate to it.
No, 100%.
The other day, dude, I'm going to see my kids for Christmas or whatever it was. They're fucking. I got twins. They're like coming up on 2 years old, and Joe's like, tell them to get some fucking friends. He's the best. You know what I mean?
He's stealing my friend.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah, stay away from the fucking psych.
Oh shit,
no clownies for you.
Yeah, no, dude, I fucking love the beans.
Yeah, they were the best.
So bad,
my favorite thing.
So I got So what do we got coming up for 2025? What's your We're not going to say resolution. We'll save that. That's for the people that want to get a gym membership for a week.
I got a couple on there, a couple of good ones. I definitely want to cut back on how much weed I've been smoking. If not, I want to fully stop. 'Cause I am like, I don't do drugs. But weed kind of keeps me like on the steady thing. That's my thing. But I feel like it's just kind of I smoke and I don't want to like do shit. I get a little unproductive. So that's definitely one of my goals for this year is to stop.
You do great though at voiceovers when you're stoned.
Yeah, dude, I do. That's my favorite fucking thing to do is just sit there stoned and fucking do the voiceover.
Right.
But no, I want to stop that. I kind of want to cut back on butts. Just little things like I want to have more control over. But I want to just get more into my content shit and like really just cut out a lot more distractions.
Yeah, the sky's the limit. I think I
Nice.
really do. It's and even for you to think like that, it's like maybe it comes with age or whatever. Certainly. Just to be able to sit down and have a conversation, right? And break down the barriers, or like we talked about like you. I like the point that you brought up about your grandmother saying that,
Yeah.
And like we get it. You're trying to protect us.
Yeah, of
But
course.
at the same time, like we can all learn from each other, right?
Absolutely.
Or, you guys are the same age. I'm 20 years older than you, but like it doesn't matter, right? I learn from you. You can learn from me, right?
It's all life lessons, bro.
It's all life lessons, and that's another thing is even like picking each other up. Where I tell Devin, the people that, when you start taking care of yourself, then it's like, slowly but surely it just happens, right? You attract the right people, the people that are supposed to be there, the people that want to be there, and and good things happen as a result. But like I'd say to him, I'm like, that's why we it's important to like like isolate and do do that what we do best, right? And make it not what we do best. And like Devin, I tell him, I'm like, dude, you got all the potential in the world, right? I can tell you that, I can give you a little pick me up, a little pat in the ass, but at the end of the day, it's for you got to do what you got to do to actually believe that on most days. It's not going to happen every day.
Yeah,
but
you just have to have it in your mind, like even when fucking shit. But I was saying that to him, and it's like the Vikings. I was literally telling him this earlier.
Oh, let's talk about the Vikings, bro.
But like how they had that saying, like weather in the storm. Like my dad always used to say that, like bro, they'd be out in the middle of the fucking ocean, waves are crashing everywhere, like pieces of the boat are falling off. Like you don't know if you're gonna fucking die. You don't know where you're even going, bro. But like you can't fucking break down and be a bitch. Like you got to stick to the fucking. You got to stick to the.
Lace up.
Yeah, bro. Be positive. Tell the dude next to you it's okay. This is fucking awesome. Let's get into ride the fucking storm. Like let's enjoy it. Like don't fucking cry about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, 100%.
You can't.
Well, like I think too, like you know what I mean. Like they say all the time, like wounded warriors. It's like, dude, I don't know, like you could fucking put us in any situation. It says it right there, right? What's it say? Fucking.
It says, "Throw me to the wolves, and I will return leading the pack."
Yeah, no, my boy said the other day, he's like, bro,
That's a Timu special right there.
Timu special.
Shout out to Timu.
Yeah, shout out to Timu.
No, it's a gaff, but I'm hooked.
I like in the Notorious movie, he said to Biggie, he was like, if I throw you in the jungle, Biggie was like, oh, come out and have the motherfuckers dancing.
Yeah,
He's like, I don't know about fucking Tony. He's like, oh, come out and have the motherfuckers dancing.
Speaking of Biggie, I think it's only right. We'll get into current events and stuff like that.
Fuck yeah.
There's certainly plenty to talk about. And so, what are your feelings, your thoughts on P. Diddy, right? What do you think?
He's a shitbag, dude.
Right? I don't even like saying
piece
the name,
of
bro,
shit.
right?
Yeah, it's like saying Voldemort, dude. Like in Harry Potter, that's like P. Diddy, dude. He comes out like all creepy in the black fucking cloak. Yeah, fuck him, dude.
What did he offer? Like I said, I don't know. I was fucking. I'm not sure, but I think he offered like 50 million cash or to try to bail out, and they denied it.
Yeah,
And then
you know what? You know what I say,
Never
Dev?
get
Like
no.
that saying, God don't like ugly, and
No.
and like you talked about, like money, all that materialistic bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Bro, listen, like at the end of the day, like it's you will get yours. Karma is real.
Yeah. Even if you sell your soul, bro, someone always comes to collect that shit.
And I tell people, for anyone out there struggling or whatever, it's like, my theory is like, in my mindset, not that it's like right or whatever, but like it works for me. And, I know a lot of people that think, like-minded, where it's like, especially as a guy, I'll speak for, for the boys, where it's like, if you're not, if you try to play gangster and like then the heat gets turned up and then you end up, like telling on someone, ruining someone's life, or you're, if you're not that, you shouldn't be.
It's like Tekashi 6ix9ine.
And if you don't like hurt another person, like a child molester or a rapist, like a dirtbag like that, then you can come back. You can recover from anything. That's there's shame involved in a lot of things, and then there's some that aren't like you can't come back from, and that's just my opinion. But we'll stick to that.
It's true though. People get involved in shit and they're not willing to pay the consequences. You know what I mean? It's fucking. Especially that's what I was gonna say too. Is like like I feel like you said, we all come just because we grew up and turned to drugs and alcohol. Like we all came from a good household. You know what I mean? And like had morals and values instilled in us. And like I don't know, like. What do they say, Gen Z or fucking millennials? But like, I don't put myself in that category just because of my age, like because of our age, you know what I mean? Because it's like, there's people out there, like, I don't care, 14, 15, 20 years old, however old you are, like, they'll fucking sell you a bag of fentanyl and tell you, or sell you it's a real perk. And it's
there's real demons out there. There's
people, I know a kid that fucking, he fucking broke his collarbone playing lacrosse or whatever, UMass Amherst, and like, dude was like, yeah, it's a real perk, and it was fucking pressed with Fetty, boom, dead.
Yeah, so the kid could make fucking $5 or something.
To make fucking $20-$30. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, where's the morals and values?
Yeah, people don't care, bro. To fucking imagine taking someone's life for $40, like
it's unbelievable, bro. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a wrap right there. That's when you should,
that's when bad, but like karma will get you.
Oh, 100%.
Karma will fucking get you, bro.
100%.
So what do we got? So 2025, right? We're trying to kick this off, and do something different, right? And
content, baby.
And we got the man, right?
The guy,
right? We got a great first episode to do this. Now, what would you like suggest? What would you recommend? Like, give me and Dev some advice on like, how this thing, what we can do to make it better, or we're always open for constructive criticism and whatnot. But
the format and the layout that you guys have is fucking awesome. I think you guys just gotta fucking get more people and do it.
Oh, we got the lineup, bro.
Yeah, no, this is fucking. Dude, I'm sure you guys both.
We got a list,
craziest characters.
It's invitation only, so sorry,
if you ain't invited, you ain't coming.
Yeah, please don't ask because
I don't.
Secondhand embarrassment.
Nothing constructive, bro. This is awesome. I love all the shit on the walls, all the Charlestown memorabilia and stuff. It's fucking comfortable, bro. You guys are doing it good.
I'm real happy you came on, dude. You know what
I mean? 100%.
Awesome.
So we have one thing that we like to do here, and we like to give a gift. For coming on, we like to give a gift to like to each guest or whatever. And me and Deb picked out a little something from you, a little something for Danny. Actually, if you can give it to Danny, I'm sure he'll be around later. But
thank you.
Deb, hold that up. Right? So this is when Danny's like when he's in Danny mode. So a little something, right? So like no one disturbs him, right? Because
put that on a necklace, bro.
Yeah,
I have a fucking rope around my neck with that.
Like Flavor Flav,
dude. That would be sick, bro. You guys are the best. Thank you, dude.
And then Dev, and tell him the other part. We're gonna.
So this is laced up, dude. Every time.
I'm gonna be the first to sign it. I'm fucking honored.
Yeah, let's fucking go, baby. Sign that shit.
Hey, imagine you just signed that shit like fucking huge.
Hey, write fuck Mayor Wu on there too while you're at it. Let's go.
That's what's up, bro.
Scalli, baby. Let's go.
So, a shout out to Danny's manager, Danny.
Got my boy Reese over there. He makes all the magic happen. That's my fucking guy.
Reese,
my right hand.
brother.
Couldn't do this without him. He fucking helps me with a lot. I'm too ADHD, dude. He fucking picks up all my slack and helps me fucking do everything.
Keeps it in check. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And audio guy, Nick.
Yep,
Nick's the fucking
Nick from Connecticut.
Yeah.
Right? UConn represent.
Yeah.
UConn.
suburb, baby.
And
Vibes. Let's
yeah,
go,
no, I
Nick.
think I'm
I'll come
really,
back. Dude. I want to come back.
100%, bro.
Yeah,
This thing's just getting started.
We're just getting started, bro.
You know,
I'm so
and
happy.
You guys better fucking watch the Lace Up podcast. Everybody, get in with fucking Joey and Devin and watch this shit weekly because it's gonna be fucking awesome.
Thank you, Jake, for coming on. Dev, I love you, brother.
Love you, bro.
Jake, my man, my homeboy.
Thank you, bro.
And yeah, guys, tune in. You know, we're gonna do big things upcoming this year. You know, Lace Up, I'll lay down. 2025 is right around the corner, and you know, stay tuned. We got big things going on. So peace.
Yes, sir.